Go where your best prayers take you, unclench the fists of your spirit and take it easy. Breathe deeply of the glad air and live one day at a time. Know that you are precious and learn to trust. Amen. Well, good morning to all of you. I laughed at Dave, who is ushering this morning, and said, "Where did all these people come from?" I said, "I'm not sure. Thought you'd be home in your jammies this morning, but you're not in your jammies, but I'm glad you're here." And what a great day to be at church again in the middle of Christmas. So Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you've had an enriching and wonderful week of Christmas. And guess what? You have another one ahead. So if I come by and your tree is out by the street, you're in trouble. I'm the tree. I'll be out there checking. I'm the tree police. Keep that tree up. Keep going. You've got till January 6th. You've got all week long. Children, tell your parents. If you're listening, tell them you've got a whole week of Christmas. Our services were always great as usual. So EJ is home in Korea seeing her family. Isn't that lovely? She'll be there for 2 weeks. She goes this time of year. And Jason is taking a rest. So I want you to welcome and thank Matthew Fisher for being here this morning. Thank you very much. You're great to come and play for us. And Dapti Kumar, one of our new great singers, by the way, is a beautiful voice, is anchoring the choir, and many of the choir members are sitting around you. But we've just had a lovely season, really and truly. It's been effortless. It's been as good as it's ever been, and maybe better, maybe the best ever. Things were smooth and easy, all the details done. Martha's sitting over here with Mary Hugh and all their crew, and the flowers, decorations were lovely. The altar guilds and all you volunteers did everything to get everything in place. And so we had lots and lots of people and lots of music and lots of good sermons, by the way. Tom and Chris and the Bishop Brian all preached great sermons, and I thank them for all the celebrations. It's been lovely. Now, I was thinking about sermons because of preaching today, of course, and this shift a little bit from where we were emotionally to where we are now this morning with a little more up here, a little head work. We shift over now to the narrative of the Gospel of John. And you all know, you've heard me preach many times, many of you. If not, you're lucky. Those of you who keep hearing me preach. William Willimon is one of my great favorites. He was a professor over at the university, and with his buddy Stanley Hauerwas, they were doing some of the most imaginative work being done 25 or 30 years ago. They saw the church of the future. So he's not only a professor and a brilliant guy, he's also a minister. He's a practicing Methodist bishop. And I read his stuff all the time because he is so smart. So I kind of wondered what he would be thinking on this Sunday. And he writes a weekly kind of column, and this was what he was talking about. He said, I was thinking about the best sermon I ever heard at Christmas. And I thought that was interesting. I wonder what that was. And so here it is. He said he went as a young guy to hear a minister that he knew. And he was studying, of course, and wanted to hear him preach. And he got into the pulpit on that Christmas evening, and he got up and he welcomed the people, and he said, started this way: "Tonight, breaking news." And then he leaned into the microphone and almost whispered, "Really, really good news. Tonight, the invasion has begun, and we are liberated." And then he sat down. And the congregation sat there, and the organist kicked in with some hymns. And Willimon said, "I've never heard a congregation sing so strongly, so powerfully, hymn after hymn." And then they went on with the worship. Little in your head, right? But he's right about that. We are liberated. And I can do that. This morning there's breaking news. Good news, really, really good news. You and I are set free. Nothing less. Again and again. And some of you need to be set free this morning. And I know some people who need to be set free. And that's what Christmas is all about. You see, this morning we moved from the baby Jesus, which I adore, And I look at all of your children. I was looking at my neighbors here with their sweet little Will, and I get to see them come around with this smiling face in the neighborhood, and watching the couples yesterday walk their children and all the baby things, and it just makes Christmas so rich for me. I don't know about you. It's just the season. But I have to say, we move from that baby Jesus narrative to the sweeping, poetic, philosophical, majestic words of Gospel of John. How many times have you heard them? Dozens, hundreds, thousands. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So I'm not going to give you a bunch of theological narrative about it. You don't need it. It is simply saying that Jesus was that Word. Jesus was from the beginning with God. Jesus then showed us God and was God for us. It's that simple. Jesus was with and in God's mind from the beginning of all time, John says. Right or wrong, the church staked its future on John's words. Jesus was in the beginning. He's been with us forever. It wasn't that, God wasn't doing his job. God needed some help. It was always a plan that God's self would be with you and me, fully disclosed. That's all the narrative you need. There's no boundaries. There's nothing between us. We can quit continually trying to climb up to God as if God's out there somewhere in space. We need to quit continually worrying about becoming better and better so that we can go up to God and reaching up. See, God has come to us. That's what the manger is, the incarnation of the Word. Simply, God is with us. He's come down to us to be one of us, and more importantly, to be like us. To be like us. You see, it is not we who are trying to have God. God is trying to have us, and God is trying to have you this morning. And again, if you need a fresh start, if you need a new life, then this is the story to pay attention to. The Gospel of John contains all of the narrative. He goes back to the prophets. What were the prophets saying? A Messiah is coming. And we believe that Messiah is here, has come and will come again, and is coming every day to us. That's what Christmas is all about. So is that enough head stuff? Probably. It is for me too. But I like the thought of being liberated. Jesus is a freedom event. If you are not free, then find Jesus. Jesus will help you be free. It is that simple, and I believe that totally. That's not the only part of getting free, but it's not a bad place to start. Do you want us to be set free? Boy, I do. And I want freedom for the people around me who are oppressed by so many things. You see, we don't have to be like God. God has become like us. God is like us. It is not we who are trying to have God. God has us. You see, this Christmas story is so simple. We no longer have to try to be divine. So let it go. Let it go. Let it go. That's the good news, and I mean that. It freed me up a long time ago, and I'm still striving for it every day. Do not be divine, John Ross. You do not have to be. You came with the character defects and all the baggage that I dragged behind me, and so do you. Every bit of it, every day. It does not matter. I have been set free. And so have you, if you choose to be. No, the fact is we're not trying to be divine. I'm going to say something different to you that you may have already gathered. We're trying to be more human. The task is to be more human, not superior, not intelligent, not better. That's not it. We're trying to be human. So I plead with you this morning. Let's try to be human today. Do you know the name Leo Buscaglia? He was really big in the 1990s. Some of you weren't born in the 1990s, I know that. But he was big, and he was actually a professor and taught at Southern Cal. His area of expertise, his teaching world, was helping young people in all kind of manner of things. Social workers, teachers, psychologists going on to medical school, learn to live with and help children particularly and their families who have disabilities of all manner. It's an interesting field he practiced. And he became famous because in that work, he started writing about relationships because that's what he realized his work was all about, relationships. And then he started writing books and became wildly popular. And in fact, now it's interesting to me, I go back and read his words. They mean a whole lot more in today's context than they did in the 1990s to me. They sound more current. They sound actually more liberating. But he had a student who was in one of his classes, and he was journeying along, and they were doing some practice, right? They were doing some practice working with families. And this young man was getting more and more distraught and came to see him and said, I can't get what we're doing. His name is Joel. I have no idea what we're trying to do here. These children have conditions that will never change. They are stuck where they are. What am I trying to do for them? What can I do for them? And Leo, that's his first name, asked him a simple question. Are you being serious with me? He said, yes, I am. He said, okay then. Tomorrow I want you to come at 9 o'clock and I'm going to take you somewhere. You're going to go with me, okay? Okay. And it will be the beginning, I hope, of an answer for you. So the next morning when this young man, Joel, showed up, they got in Leo's car and drove about 3 blocks and went to a nursing home near the campus. And he took him inside and he said, let's just walk around. And they stopped and they looked indoors. When's the last time you've been in a nursing home? Enough said, right? Young man got it. It's tough sometimes. Looked at all the many people there, their agedness, their disabilities, being stuck in bed. Many of them mentally not kind of cognizant any longer. He was watching the staff and watching the people went from door to door to door. And it was the same everywhere. And he said, you know, well, what do you think? And he said, I don't know. What in the world can I do for them? He said, come here. I know somebody. I want you to go with me. Went around another hall. He said, her name is Jewel. Joel, why don't you go down and sit with her? He said, what? He said, I want you to sit by her bed and talk to her. He said, I'll be back in a while. Actually, he left him and drove off. So he sat down with this older woman and he said, my name is Joel. And she looked at him and kind of suspicious. She said, did somebody from the family send you? And he said, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. I go to the university. She said, what are you doing here? He said, I'm really not sure, but my professor wanted me to come talk to you. And they talked about him. He said, oh, I know him. Okay. She said, what do you want to talk about? He said, well, I don't know. She said, why don't I tell you about myself? And so for the next hour, this older woman, who might not look like much, told him this rich tapestry of her life, of her young life growing up in Southern California, and education and marriage and children and loss in her life, the death of her husband, old age. And so they just talked. Well, to Dr. Biscaglia's surprise, he heard that Joel went back again. He didn't know. Joel went the next week. Then he went the next week. Then he went the next week. And he started going every week. And the nursing home staff started calling it Joel's Day because everyone wanted Joel to come sit and talk to them. Some time went by, about 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Dr. Biscaglia has kind of forgotten this. Sunny day is a Saturday, football game day on campus, so he walked out, walked about a block, turned the corner, and just stopped. And he said, it made my career. I had a career day right there. There was Joel coming down the street, with 30 older people, some in wheelchairs, many in walkers, and he was taking them to the football game. Is that not a sweet story? And it's 100% true. You see, we're not trying to be divine. We're trying to be human. Human. I wasn't going to do this, but something happened in the last few days. Now I'm going to tell you a quick. So here's what it looks like in Knoxville, Tennessee. I was walking my 9-month-old Labrador River, and she's a wild dog and needs to run, so I take her out at Lakeshore and let her loose. We walked some, and I looked up and I saw this hat on someone. I said, I know that person. I just know that hat. And it was Dr. George Kreisel with his wife, Susan. And they were over by the ball fields, and they have a beginner's ball field where the kids can, it's AstroTurf, and they're playing. Well, there was a family there with 3 children. And then a woman about my age, because I knew she had gray hair, I have white hair. And I went, my goodness, I wonder what's going on. But I saw him kind of leaning into her, and he's holding her hand. And so I was walking by slowly, just in case they needed some lifting power. That's about all I could add to the formula. And Susan waved at me and nodded her head, and I thought, they got this. So I walked river for like 45 minutes. Then I went back to that point again, and guess who's still there? George and Susan helping this older woman, my age, into an ambulance. Because she had probably broken her hamstring playing chase with her children on the ball field. And I went, there it is. Humanity at its best. And I got to see it again. And I bet if you look, you'll see it today. And I hope you'll remember it all began with a baby in Bethlehem 2,000 years ago. Actually, it began before time began with God to be with us forever. Amen.